Welcome my friends to ITB. It is Andrew here, and if you have been hanging around this channel for a while, you know there's one thing that I really like, and that is smart homes, and in particular, HomeKit. I pretty much have HomeKit outfitted all throughout my home, so I wanted to highlight a couple cool ways that I've been able to utilize that. Specifically in this video, we're going to look at creating a HomeKit controlled fish tank light, and whole lighting system created custom through HomeKit. Now there are a couple different ways to get around this. The first thing you need though is some strip lights. There's lots of different ones out there. We've covered them all. It's really preference up to you and looking at the different light outfits and what type of tank that you may have in your home. So for instance, the way I'm starting out is we're using a Philips Hue lighting strip. I think it's actually what I have in one of my lights, but you can use ones from LifeX that we've covered, Sylvania that we've covered, Kujik, and it doesn't even have to be HomeKit. In this case, we're looking at HomeKit, what we can do with HomeKit, but there are plenty of other options out there. So if you got a different smart home setup, you can still do the same stuff. You can still use Hue, you can still use a lot of these different platforms. So the first thing that we needed to get started was picking out which light that we were going to use. And we tried it with a few different ones. Sylvania Smart Plus was pretty awesome, but I think I ended up going with the Philips Hue one in one of my final versions, and I'm not sure what we had in the second lighting system that we put together. So the basic gist of it is creating a hood to go over top of the fish tank. And inside of that hood, we have two rods that we've wrapped around one of our HomeKit LED light strips. So we've wrapped it all the way down one and back down the other. Then we've mounted those two rods inside of basically a large box. So if you want to figure out how to fabricate this or pick one up that will fit your specific fish tank or whatever it is that you're lighting, go ahead and do that. We basically just glued all these sides together, put a top in there that was a little bit recessed so stuff could go on top without falling out, and then we just attached these two to the side. Nothing fancy, just some double stick tape held these two in place because the whole thing is getting sealed in through plexiglass, so I don't have to worry about it coming down. So I've got my HomeKit lighting right all in here, perfectly set up, and I have this more towards the front because the way my tank is, there's a little reservoir in the back for all the filtering and other media. So I needed my lights a little bit more towards the front. In this case, we have a Sylvania light, so we have the little additional component, the little controller box, that's going to go towards the back. And all of that will get covered. So underneath the lights and above that little controller box, we put a piece of reflective material. It could be metal. In our case, it was just a piece of like cardstock with a kind of a foil finish on one side. So it's going to help direct the light down into the tank. And you don't see it obviously in this build. We did put it in there before we actually fitted it onto our tank. But then we put a piece of plexiglass over the top, which is going to protect everything on the inside. We're good to go. So that was all installed. Lights go on the top. Now these are multi-color, so of course you can change the color to anything you need them to be. Then we gone ahead and set it up in the HomeKit app. So now I can ask Siri to turn off the saltwater tank. I can ask Siri to change the color. I can have different colors throughout the day, evening, during the daytime. Obviously, I don't want a bunch of light happening at night because we do have some coral, some live rock in here, and I don't really want to mess up all their cycles by just throwing crazy lights on it 24/7. Now, of course, it depends on what you have in your tank. If you have a lot of corals that need a specific color of light, this may not work for you. But for the ones that we have in here, it works really, really well. And at nighttime, can get some really cool colors to come out of our corals, which is a little bit of really blue light. Then there were two pieces of automation that we set up for our tanks. We have a couple different tanks, a freshwater tank and a saltwater tank. And the way we have it do is we kind of have it, the one going on and off with the sunrise and the sunset. So literally the light comes on, gets bright with the sunrise, and then dims itself and goes back down with the sunset. You can also just have it change color. So during the day, it can be 100% in a nice clean white light. Then going into the evenings, it can dim to be a little bit more orangish. And then in the evening, have a really nice dark light that's only maybe 5% of the brightness. It's really completely up to you and your preferences for your tanks. Now there is another option here. So for coral, it needs to be maybe a little bit more specific, and I like to control the spectrum of light a little bit more than I would for, say, my freshwater tank. But if you have a simple freshwater tank, you're still not out of this. And you also don't need to create this fancy lighting box that we did for this. This required actual, some manufacturing to put everything together. You don't have to go that far. If you have a simple light that you like, you can simply plug it in and then use HomeKit to enable it using a switch. We've covered a ton of different switches on this channel, from iHome to Elgato's Eve setup. There's Kujik, there's iDevices, there is iPulse, there is ConnectSense. There's so many options of connected outlets that you can use through HomeKit, and you can do the same scheduling. So you can have the light turn on and off with the sunrise, with the sunset at specific times of day. You have it turn on enough when you come home, when you leave, whatever your setup may be. You can still do the same thing through HomeKit, just using an outlet and a basic fish tank light that you already have. There are so many things you can do with your smart home, and this is just one of the ways that I found a way to use it that was particularly unique, that you don't really see a lot of different ways. It involved a little bit of craftsmanship and a little bit of tinkering to get everything to work right, but our fish tank looks amazing and it absolutely looks stunning with the different lights. So let us know what you think down below, or what your favorite smart home and HomeKit setup is down in the comments. You can find links for everything we used pretty much in this video in the description, and until next time, it's Andrew for IDB.